Hi, first graders. This is Mrs. Zimmerman, and I'm happy to be here with you today. And we're going to be talking about point of view. Good readers know who is telling the story, whose view is being told as we read a story. So if I look at my poster, it defines point of view. It's the perspective or the view from which the story is told. All right, so when I ask the question, who's telling the story, you might want to say, well, silly Mrs. Zimmerman, it's you telling the story. I'm reading the story, yes, but the question you want to ask yourself is, whose view from which the story is told? Okay, the other thing that good readers know to do is as they listen to the words being told in the story, they're asking themselves, who's speaking these words? Who's saying the words that are being read? So those are two things that good readers keep in mind. I'm going to share this story with you. I've been given permission by Scholastic to read this story, and it's one of my favorites, The Three Little Pigs. It's written by James Marshall. So before I start the story, though, I have a pig joke. All right, and the joke is, do you know what they call a pig who does karate? Pork chop. All right, that's a funny one. Here we go with the story, The Three Little Pigs. Here's the title page. And remember to ask yourselves, who's telling the story? Is it somebody in the story? Is it one of the characters in the story? Or is it somebody outside of the story watching the whole thing happen and talking about it? So those are the questions you want to ask yourself. And you also want to ask yourself, who's speaking? Who's saying these words? Once upon a time, an old sow sent her three little pigs out into the world to seek their fortune. Now be sure to write, she said, and remember that I love you. The first little pig met a man with a load of straw. I know, said the little pig, I'll buy your straw and build a house. That is not a good idea, said the man. Mind your own business, thank you, said the little pig, and he bought the straw and set about building a house. It took him no time at all. Very soon, a lean, hungry wolf will happen by. Pig was just about his favorite food in the world. So he knocked on the door and said, little pig, let me come in. To which the pig replied, no, 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 not by the hair on my chinny chin chin. This annoyed the wolf to no end, and he said, then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in. Go right ahead, said the little pig. So the wolf huffed and he puffed and he blew the house in. And he gobbled up the little pig. Look at him. The second little pig met a man with a load of sticks. I've got it, said the little pig. I'll buy those sticks and build a house. I'd think twice about that, said the man. So we're asking ourselves, who's speaking? Oh, pooh, said the little pig. What would you know? And he bought the sticks and went to work building a house. Very pretty, he said. No sooner had the little pig settled into his pretty house than the wolf happened by. He was still hungry, and he said, little pig, let me come in. To which the little pig replied, no, 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 not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. Look at that house. The wolf didn't care at all. He said, I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in. Ha, 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 said the little pig. So the wolf huffed and he puffed and he blew his house in. Look at this poor guy. And he gobbled up the little pig. Now the third little pig met a man with a load of bricks. These bricks will make a fine house. It'll be sturdy, said the man. Capital idea, my good fella, said the little pig. So he bought the bricks and set about building a house. It took him quite a bit of time, but it was well worth it. Nice and solid, said the little pig, nice and solid. But no sooner had the little pig moved in than he noticed the wolf loitering about. And the wolf, who was still hungry, said, little pig, let me come in. To which the little pig replied, no, 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 not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. Well, the wolf heard that before, and he said, I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in. Oh, don't do that, said the little pig. But the wolf huffed and he puffed and he huffed and he puffed until he was quite blue in the face. The house stood firm. I'll try another approach, muttered the wolf, and he put on his most dazzling smile. Little pig, I was only teasing, he said. By the way, I hear tell that Farmer Jones has the most scrumptious turnips. Shall we go pick a few? Oh, I'm much too busy now, said the little pig. What about tomorrow morning? Excellent, said the wolf. I'll come for you at 6. The next morning, the little pig got up at 5, hurried off to Farmer Jones' turnip field, picked a basket full of scrumptious turnips as he dashed back home. When the wolf arrived at 6, the turnips were already boiling in the pot. He tricked him. Sorry, I couldn't wait, said the little pig. The wolf tried not to show his displeasure. No harm done, he said. By the way, there's a lovely apple tree down in Merry Meadow. Shall we go help ourselves to a few apples? I must cook my turnips, said the little pig. Let's meet there tomorrow morning. Splendid, said the wolf. Shall we say 5? What do you think that little pig's going to do? The next morning, the little pig was up at 4 and went off for the apples. It took longer than he had expected to reach Merry Meadow, and while busy gathering apples in the highest tree, he saw the wolf approaching. Do try one of these, he called down, throwing an apple as far as he could. When the wolf chased after the apple, the little pig shimmied down the tree and made it safely home. The next day the wolf came again. Really, he was quite put out. There's a fair today on Hog Hill, he said. Would you care to go? Why don't we meet there, said the little pig. Would 3 o'clock suit you? Is he going to trick him again, do you think? Colossal, said the wolf. 3 it is. Just to make sure, he would be there at 2. At 1 in the afternoon, the tricky little pig went to the fair and had a fine time. So fine that he lost track of the hour. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eye, he saw the wolf coming up the hill. Without a minute to spare, the little pig jumped inside an empty butter churn and rolled down the hill toward the wolf. Well, the wolf was so scared he ran all the way home. That evening, the wolf went to the little pig's house and told him how frightened he had been by the great round thing that came down the hill. Frightened you, did I? Said the little pig. That great round thing was a butter churn, and I was inside. This was simply too much for the wolf to stand. I've been nice long enough, he cried. I'm going to eat you up right now. And he climbed onto the roof. When the little pig saw this, he put a big iron pot in the fireplace and quickly stoked the fire. Here I come, cried the wolf. Dinner time. You can say that again, said the little pig. And he cooked the mean old wolf and gobbled him up. The end. Okay, boys and girls, what do you think? Who told that story? Whose point of view was that story being told from? Was it being told from the first pig's point of view? Was it being told from the second pig's point of view, or the third, or the wolf? Or was it told from somebody outside of the story watching the story happen? If you guessed that it was somebody outside of the story, then you would be right. That story is told from somebody watching the whole thing happen. All right, also, I have a little quiz for you to see if you know who said that. So that's another skill that good readers are always aware of. Who's speaking? Who said that? Whose speech bubble am I listening to? Okay, so the first question I'm going to ask is this. Who said, now be sure to write and remember that I love you? Who said that in the story? Well, if you remember correctly, it was Mama Pig. She said, now be sure to write, she said, and remember that I love you, when she was saying goodbye to her little pigs. All right, second question. See if you were listening and see if you know who said that. Who said, oh, pooh, what would you know? Who said that? Was it the first little pig? Was it the second little pig, or the third? Or was it the wolf? Make a prediction. If you guessed the second wolf, or second pig, sorry, you would be right. Oh, pooh, said the little pig. What would you know? And we know it's the second little pig because of the sticks. He's building his house with sticks. Okay, now for the third and final question. Who said, by the way, there's a lovely apple tree down in Merry Meadow. Shall we go help ourselves to a few apples? Who said that in the story? Was that one of the pigs, or was it the wolf? Well, if we look in our story, we can see that it's the wolf who's saying, by the way, there is a lovely apple tree down in Merry Meadow. Shall we help ourselves to a few apples? All right, so there you can tell that it was the wolf who was inviting the pig to Merry Meadow. All right, I hope that as you were listening, you were asking yourself, who's saying this? Who's saying these words? All right, we have our second video is a little bit tricky, and it's going to be from a different point of view, and I think you're going to really enjoy it. And I'm going to let you know the wolf is in this story, and he's a pretty important part here. So you'll want to make sure you stay tuned and turn in to watch video 2. Before I go, I have one more pig joke. What do you get when you cross a pig and a pine tree? You get a porcupine. All right, goodbye. See you in video 2. Thanks for joining me.